Explain us briefly what is this thesis actually about?
Well, so basically, I would say it's all about kind of gender and gender as a performative, which means how we enact it, how we kind of behave, and how we take part in life and kind of showcase our gender, rather than having it in terms of biological sex kind of being predetermined that you're either male or female. You enact your gender through various forms of gesture, speech, maybe just the way you walk, as a performative kind of.
Mm-hmm. And how did you develop on this research topic within your thesis? What did you actually do in your thesis?
Well, so we looked at videos and images and text, like kind of promotional material itself that two NGOs presented on their websites, on their YouTube channels, on basically all their social media that they had. And we wanted to see how they represent and how they showcase the feminine gender or the female gender in terms of their promotional material.
So how did you come up with this topic? What made you think I want to do something on this very actually up-to-date topic, right?
Yeah, so I have to give big credits to Jose, because he...
Your lecturer, right?
Yeah,
He's a lecturer
exactly.
in Masters of Management.
He was talking a lot about multimodality. He did his entire own research and paper with some collaborators on multimodality, and he's very interested in this kind of thing where it's all about camera angles, positioning of the camera, lighting, sound, gaze, so where the people look, gestures, and kind of looking in between these things to find nuances of how they give like a general overview to maybe a bit deeper topics. So let's say, for example, some societal issues, for example, like gender discrimination or gender inequality. And that's where we kind of bridged the gap of, I want to do something with multimodality, and I knew Jose was into this kind of
Techniques,
topic,
right?
I knew he wrote a paper about it, and then we kind of got on this topic of gender discrimination and gender inequality in Western civilization, and then things kind of just started, and we went on, we developed our ideas, and ended up with this super interesting topic, in my opinion.
And you did research on actually two main NGOs, two very big NGOs in Germany. Which NGOs did you choose? Why did you choose them? And then explain a little further, maybe, how can we imagine you researching on those two NGOs with this gender topic, with his techniques of filming, of imagery?
So we started off with like, I want to say around 30 NGOs. So I created a list of the ones that were actually of interest to us. Those were like, I want to say around 20 to 30. And then I cross-referenced them with their website traffic, for example. So I ranked them by website traffic, Instagram interactions, YouTube views, and all these different things to see which ones were gaining like the most engagement online. And then I did another section of exactly those NGOs again, and kind of linked them to their industry or sector that they belong to. So for example, animal care, animal shelter. So we decided to go for two NGOs, the same sector, doing the same stuff, and kind of went on from there, yeah.
And then how did you analyze those? Did you go through videos they have? Did you go through their website? And what did you actually...
I scoured everything. So I went through their entire Instagram history of the past, I don't know. We wanted to make it more contemporary, so we limited ourselves to like 5 years in the past. Roundabout, that's what we said, like 5 to 10 years in the past. 10 years, big stretch, but 5 years more realistic. And I went through their Instagram. I scrolled through their entire posts, made screenshots, kind of just collected all this data, this massive amount of images, videos, because it was just the most fruitful in terms of what they could showcase.
So I think it's a good idea to have a look at one certain thing for the people to understand what did you actually analyze in those imageries and in those films. And actually, let's have a look, for example, at this this example here. Where is that found? Where can that be found? At which NGO? And what did you analyze within this imagery?
So this is kind of one of the like promotional movies that Caritas made, and basically it's about showcasing what good they have done, kind of introducing people to the organization, and it's on YouTube. And so this specific one is where they show the director. So he's one of the board members of Caritas. If I remember correctly, it's one of three, 2 male and 1 female. We chose this one because it's actually very interesting paired with the other pictures. As you see that they transfer the melancholy from this kind of scene with the music onto him, which means he gets all the emotions that are built up from the first image kind of put onto him. So he's the one that carries the emotions. He's the one who's feeling, who's kind of engaged with everyone. But at the same time, what's actually interesting in this is what they don't show.
Okay.
So
what is it?
So what they didn't do is they didn't choose the female director to represent the company, or to, what we called it is the agent of change. So the organization acts as a change maker or kind of a change enactor. So they want to make change possible. And he represents this. So he gets the credit, or the audience's credit at least.
He's the face for this message.
Exactly. He's the face for the message of we make change possible. We are an agent of change. We try to help people. And by not choosing a woman to represent this kind of feeling, it's basically a problem by omission. So by not showing that they also have a female director, and by the way, they show the other male director in the video as well, and leave out the female entirely. By not showing her, they're omitting this, and they're kind of putting this agency onto a male character rather than a female character. And in comparison with the following image, it's super interesting, because here we see a classroom. So we see these female red people here at the front. Blurred in the background are all the male characters. As you can see here in the bottom, they're all blurred out, while the female faces are all clearly shown.
In the first row, yes.
And so basically, in the comparison to the picture before, it's here we have our agent of change, and he thanks the people who work for him, or rather for the organization. So we see him as kind of representing the change, but we see the women as kind of being the ones who actually have to be the people who care, who are nurturing, who are the ones
who do the change.
Exactly, who are responsible for kind of being this loving, caring kind of nature, which is often assumed to be like stereotypically feminine, to be caring and loving and nurturing. And they're presented as a homogenized group. So what that means is they're shown as a group, so the audience loses emotionality towards them. Because with a single person, I can kind of put myself into the position of that person.
You can identify.
You can identify with the person, you can identify with the problems, maybe also the successes as here shown. But here we see a group of females. We don't know about their backstory. We don't know about the individual stories or the reasons why all of them are there to be there. And we kind of lose the connection that we had initially. And so it's very interesting to kind of see this male guy as this agent of change, and then you have the females kind of being the enactors of it, but we're never really confronted with the individual stories of them, rather just, well, here's a group, don't really go into it. These are the people who actually do the things, and I'll still thank them.
Interesting. And is this a finding you had found all over the place, all over those 2 NGOs? Was there a better NGO to say so, or were they both having such bad negative examples, or were they also having very good examples?
Well, to be fair, what I have to say is, for me, I can't really term it in terms of negative and positive.
Okay.
Because what we're seeing is what I myself have seen in these pictures, right? So there's, of course, always a level of interpretation, and it's obviously not fully representative to this entire NGO, because in the end they are doing good things, right? It's the nuances we see, and it's not really them to be blamed for it, but rather this is what our society may think of the feminine gender, of females, and we see this in these nuances, in these tiny bits, as the omission, as the homogenized group, all these little things. They're not negatives per se, but they showcase that we are able to still reproduce these kind of gender stereotypes constantly, even if we don't intend to actively reproduce them.
Okay.
That's basically the takeaways. We see kind of stereotypical gender kind of attributes being forced onto people or being shown as that without actually meaning to do so. And that's what I think, from my point of view, was actually the interesting part, is to kind of see it's everywhere. And you have to be very open and very kind of thoughtful of your words, your actions, and everything you do to kind of not fall into this trap. Apart from that, going further with the thesis, I think I kind of really found my niche topic where I want to exist in academia.
Okay.
In terms of gender studies or gender literature in organizations and these kind of things. So I'm definitely planning to kind of continue that, hopefully in a PhD.
Oh wow.
Yeah, if I'm smart enough, of course.
With that knowledge and with that pursuit.
I mean, it's a small part, right? So what I want to say is, I don't want to take too much credit for what I've written here, because I mean, there's all these people in the back helping me, especially Jose. He helped me with his work when he presented me his kind of methodology of how he analyzed multimodality. So when we went through these videos, we didn't look at them once, we looked at them hundreds of times. We had this table, we kind of had themes, emerging themes, and then we specifically looked for these emerging themes. After the 10th viewing, we were like, oh, can we find something more here? Can we look at this from a different angle? Is this all we have here? And we kind of went through it step by step by step and kept going deeper, and found what we found.
So speaking of the guidance from Jose, how is it, not content-wise now, but looking on it on a very formal perspective, how was the whole process of creating this thesis? Because it's such a big deal, right? It's the end of your studies, it's the end of your master's, it's the highlight actually, and it's something really scientific, of course. How was it? How did it feel to create this? Maybe how did you felt the guidance of Jose? You already talked about that his guidance was quite close, right?
For me, it was perfect, because I could just basically fire anything at him that I thought about, that I had in my mind, and he would give me honest, critical feedback, and he'd be like, yeah, this is something we can use,
nice.
This rather keep out. And I valued his intellect a lot, because I really think very highly of him as a person in general, but also on an academic level, because I think he has very good insights, and he's very on point with his kind of topics that he chooses, especially when we're talking about these kind of gender discriminatory things, and kind of trying to reach out for a better world where we have more gender equality. Yeah.
And now that your thesis is being published, I heard that it's actually quite successful, and you, with your paper, have been accepted for a conference. Which one is it?
It's the Academy of Management conference in Copenhagen this year.
Wow, of course.
And so basically Jose and I and another researcher kind of refined the thesis to be just in terms of format a bit more of an actual research paper. To send it in, and we just did it out of just, I don't know,
curiosity.
Curiosity.
Wow.
To see what would happen, and it got accepted.
Yes, congrats.
Thank you.
So we see you in Copenhagen soon.